Welcome back to the deep dive. This time, we're taking you all the way to the Philippines.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah, so we're going to vicariously experience life as an American expat there
Yeah.
through this interview we have with Steve.
Okay.
He spills all the details about what took him there, the ups and downs of, getting used to a new place, and what surprised him most about Filipino culture.
Yeah.
And we also have some articles about expat life in the Philippines and some data on the cultural differences between the U.S. and the Philippines.
Interesting.
So get ready for motorcycles,
All right.
typhoons, and maybe even a little culture shock along the way.
I love it.
I'm especially curious to get your take on this one,
Okay.
since you've spent a lot of time living abroad, too.
Yeah, I mean, leaving a familiar life behind to go to a new culture.
Right.
Especially one that's as different as the Philippines.
Totally.
It's a huge leap, so I'm really eager to see what we find in this deep dive.
So to get us started, Steve wasn't always island hopping in Southeast Asia. Yeah, this guy is a retired stockbroker who lived in his truck,
Wow.
traveling between Pennsylvania and Florida.
Okay.
And he's ridden his motorcycle across America multiple times,
Oh, wow.
including Route 66 3 times.
Seriously?
Yeah, and he's even driven across the country on US 50.
That's awesome.
So that's quite a contrast.
Yeah, that is quite a shift to go from the open road to settling down in the Philippines.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what made him make such a dramatic change.
Right, like what could have pulled him so far from his old life?
Yeah.
So his first trip to the Philippines was back in 2015.
Okay.
Just a quick 6-week visit.
Gotcha.
But something must have really captivated him because he kept going back
Mm-hmm.
and eventually made it his permanent home.
It sounds like way more than just a vacation spot.
Yeah.
Do we know what it was about the Philippines specifically that drew him there? Like, was it the landscape or the people or the culture or something else?
Well, according to his interview, there were a few different things that played a part. He said he was influenced by some other American men who had married Filipinas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they told him about finding a level of love and connection they just hadn't experienced before.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It makes it sound like they were searching for something more than what they had in their past relationships, maybe
So-
like a different way of relating to a partner.
Exactly. And he specifically mentioned this website called FilipinoCupid.com.
What is that?
It's an online dating site, and that's where he met his first Filipina partner.
Oh, wow. So technology actually played a role in this.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, that's a fascinating side of globalization,
Mm-hmm.
like how online platforms can actually help people from different cultures form relationships and,
Yeah.
bridge these gaps that are sometimes geographical and sometimes societal.
Right.
It's something we don't really think about a lot, but it has a big impact on people's lives.
For sure, it really does.
Mm.
But here's a plot twist.
Okay.
He didn't actually meet his
Yeah.
current wife online. He met her through a friend's fiancé in the Philippines.
Wow. So it sounds like fate really stepped in to help guide him towards his new life.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy is it that these random connections can lead to such big changes?
I know, it's wild.
Yeah.
So fast forward to today, and Steve and his wife are living in a small barangay.
What's a barangay?
It's basically like a village
Okay.
on Luzon Island near a town called Dayet.
Got it.
They built a house, and they even built a resort together.
Wow. So he went from living in a truck to building a resort in the Philippines.
I know, it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that shows how adaptable he is and what an entrepreneurial spirit he has.
Yeah, it really does.
That's cool.
But don't let that resort life image fool.
Yeah. Okay.
Life in the Philippines definitely comes with its own challenges.
I bet.
He even experienced a Category 5 typhoon.
Oh.
Yeah, that knocked out their electricity for 3 weeks.
Wow. That's a serious reminder about how powerful nature can be. For sure. Especially in a place that gets a lot of typhoons.
Right, and it shows how resilient you have to be to live there.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to romanticize expat life.
Yeah.
But there's always some bumps in the road.
Oh, definitely.
So even beyond the typhoons,
Yeah.
Steve talks about having to adjust to a different pace of life in the Philippines.
Yeah.
He describes it as a step back in time mentality, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
It's a big difference between that fast-paced, individualistic Western lifestyle
Right.
and that more community-oriented, present-focused approach that you see in other cultures.
It makes you think about what's really important in life.
Yeah.
Like, what are we always rushing towards? And what are we missing along the way?
Exactly. And that's such a valuable perspective.
Yeah.
It makes me even more curious to hear more about Steve's experiences and see if his values changed as he adapted to this new environment.
Right. It's kind of fascinating how Steve went from this super high-pressure finance world to a life that's like way more about family and community.
Hmm.
I'm curious to hear more about that cultural shift he experienced.
It is a really big change for sure.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that book,
Which one?
The Geography of Bliss,
Oh, yeah.
where this guy travels all over the world just exploring what makes people in different cultures happy.
Right.
And he found that some of the happiest places are the ones that focus on close relationships and community connections
Interesting.
more than material wealth.
Yeah. It makes you wonder if that's part of what Steve was looking for,
Yeah,
maybe without even realizing it.
maybe.
He did say those other men told him about how much they loved their Filipino wives,
Right.
and that got him interested.
It's funny how powerful word of mouth can be,
I know.
especially when you're talking about something as personal as finding a partner.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they were all longing for a really genuine connection,
Yeah.
a sense of belonging that they weren't finding in the U.S.
Totally. And it's not even just about romantic love.
Oh, right.
Steve talks about how welcoming and friendly Filipinos are, like in general. He felt a sense of community that he hadn't experienced before.
Which makes sense when you think about his lifestyle before.
Mm-hmm.
Living in his truck, traveling all the time, working in finance.
Yeah.
Those are all pretty individualistic things,
Right.
so it's not that surprising that he wanted something more.
Right. And he even specifically compares his experience dating in the U.S. after his divorce
Yeah.
with meeting his wife in the Philippines.
Oh.
And he felt like something was missing in those American relationships.
I wonder if that's because of cultural differences
Yeah.
in how people view relationships.
Right.
Like the Philippines is known for having strong family ties and focusing on the collective good,
Right.
whereas American culture is definitely more individualistic.
Yeah. And he actually talks about how Filipinos express love and affection
Oh. Oh.
in a way that really resonated with him.
Yeah.
He mentions their warmth, their genuine care for each other. He said he felt seen and valued in a way he hadn't before.
Wow, that's powerful. It really shows you how cultural values can affect our personal lives.
Right.
It makes you think about how we're raised and the norms in our society, like how those shape our expectations and experiences in relationships.
Yeah, it's true. And, it's easy to get caught up in this idea of finding love and community in some far-off land. But Steve's honest about the challenges, too.
Right.
Remember that Category 5 typhoon?
Of course.
That's a pretty stark reminder that no matter where you go, life has its difficulties.
Yeah.
And the Philippines, with all those natural disasters, definitely has its own unique set of challenges.
It's a good point. And even beyond those crazy events, he talks about daily life in the Philippines as having this like step back in time quality.
Hmm.
I wonder what you think about that as the listener.
Yeah.
Could you see yourself adapting to a slower pace of life?
It's interesting to think about how differently cultures view time.
Yeah.
Like in a world that's so obsessed with speed and getting things done quickly,
Right.
the idea of slowing down can be both appealing and kind of scary, for sure. And it's not just the pace of life.
Right.
There are all these cultural differences in how people communicate, social etiquette, even humor.
Oh, yeah.
All these subtle things that can be really hard to figure out. Yeah, he does hint at some of those things he had to adjust to.
I bet.
But overall, it seems like he's super happy he moved to the Philippines.
That's great.
He even said he doesn't plan on going back to the U.S. for good.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah.
Like, he really found something he was missing in his old life.
Totally.
It reminds you that home isn't always a place.
Yeah.
It's more of a feeling.
Exactly. And, while his story is unique,
Right.
it shows this bigger trend of people looking for different ways to live, exploring new parts of the world,
Yeah.
redefining what a good life looks like.
It is a fascinating thing.
It is.
Like, what's driving this search for something more?
Yeah.
Is it that people are disillusioned with Western society?
Maybe.
Or are they yearning for deeper connections?
Could be.
Or maybe they just want adventure.
I think it's probably a mix of all those things.
Yeah, probably.
And it's important to remember that not everyone has the same experience.
Oh, definitely.
Some people find exactly what they're looking for,
Right. Yeah.
while others struggle or end up going back home unhappy.
That's true. It's not a guaranteed solution for everyone.
Right.
And there are definitely challenges
Yeah,
to living in a new culture, especially one as different as the Philippines.
totally. But Steve's story gives us a glimpse of what's possible
Yeah.
when we open ourselves up to new experiences and embrace the unknown.
For sure.
It makes us question our ideas about happiness and success and what's truly important.
And his journey isn't even over yet.
Right.
He's building a family in this new culture,
Mm.
figuring out how to raise kids in a bicultural environment.
Yeah, it's a whole other chapter in his story that I can't wait to learn more about. Me too. He did mention his older kids from his first marriage
Yeah.
have had some mixed reactions to his new life.
Yep.
And his younger kids, with his wife, are growing up in this really unique blend of Filipino and American cultures.
It makes you think about identity and belonging
Yeah,
and the challenges and opportunities that come with bridging different worlds.
right.
It'll be interesting to hear how Steve's handling all of that and what he's learned along the way.
Yeah, it really is amazing to think about those kids growing up experiencing both those cultures.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's probably had its own challenges too.
It does. It really does. Like, how's Steve handling those cultural differences within his family,
Right.
especially with his older kids?
Yeah, he mentioned they had mixed reactions to his new life.
Yeah.
Like his son's fine with it, but his daughter seems to have more reservations.
I bet it's hard for them.
Yeah, to understand such a huge change.
Yeah.
And maybe even a little weird seeing their dad embrace a culture that's so different from their own.
It makes sense they'd have different perspectives.
Yeah.
It shows how our own experiences and values shape how we see things. Like, what's exciting and freeing to one person might seem strange and even scary to someone else.
Makes you realize how complicated family dynamics can be.
Definitely, especially when you add in cultural differences and being far apart.
Totally. And then there's the age gap between Steve and his wife.
Oh, right.
That's got to raise some eyebrows.
It does.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on that,
Sure.
like from a sociologist's perspective.
Well, norms about age and relationships are different everywhere.
Right.
In some cultures, a big age gap is totally normal, even a good thing.
Yeah.
But in others, people think it's weird or wrong.
It makes you wonder how people judge them,
Yeah.
both in the Philippines and if they ever come to the U.S.
For sure, they might face some negativity because of their age difference.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to hear if they've had any problems with that.
Well, Steve did mention his wife hasn't left the Philippines yet,
Oh, really?
and they've got some passport issues to work out.
I see.
Makes you wonder what she'd think of America.
Yeah, coming from such a different place. It would probably be a huge culture shock.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. A small village in the Philippines
Yeah.
versus like a busy American city.
So different.
The pace of life, the values, how people act, everything's different.
It'll be fascinating to get her take on it all.
Yeah,
Like, what stands out to her? What surprises her?
totally.
What does she find interesting about American culture?
It just shows you we don't even realize our own cultural norms are weird until we see a different way of life.
Right.
Makes us step outside our comfort zones and see the world with fresh eyes.
It makes you think about how travel and experiencing different cultures can change your perspective
For sure.
and help you understand yourself and the world better.
Totally. It's like you're unlearning and then relearning,
Yeah.
questioning what you thought you knew, and embracing how rich and complex human experience really is.
Well, I think we've really dug deep today,
Well,
from the
thanks.
appeal of expat life
Mm-hmm.
to the challenges of adapting to a new culture, family dynamics,
Right.
and the search for meaning and connection.
It's been fascinating.
Steve's story really shows you the power of embracing the unknown
Definitely.
and creating a life that reflects what's important to you.
Yeah, this deep dive has been full of surprises
Yeah.
and things to think about,
Yeah,
even some thought-provoking questions.
exactly.
Yeah.
It reminds us there's no one right way to be happy.
Yep.
And sometimes the greatest adventures are in the most unexpected places.
That's the truth. And maybe Steve's story will inspire some of our listeners to take a leap of faith themselves.
I hope so.
Yeah, to explore new horizons and figure out what home really means to them.
That's a perfect way to wrap things up.
Yeah.
So to our listeners, we want to hear your thoughts on this deep dive.
Yeah.
What stuck with you? What questions did it raise for you?
Let us know.
Join the conversation on social media and share your insights.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.